Oh no, I'm not ready.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome to Plausible Deniability. I was a little off because I was watching the time on YouTube and not watching the time on the thing. So there's going to be a black space here. That black space is my fault. It's because of me. So, hey, I'm Michael Cross.
I'm Brook Bullock.
Johnny Payne.
There he is.
Hey, everybody, make sure you like and subscribe right now while I've got your attention because it's so important that we boost up our numbers here on our YouTube page. So excited to have you all here on this Thursday night. We've got a lot planned. We're going to talk about our top 3 television shows of the 80s. We've got trivia. We've got a whole bunch of stuff going on. Strange New Worlds just dropped its first episode of the second season, and oh my gosh, it's mind-blowing. Mind-blowing.
Not watching it till after the show.
Oh, it's so good. I highly recommend it. It is so choice.
Do they go to a Strange New World?
Okay, Ferris.
It is so choice. Yes, it is very good, and especially the new cast member that joins up. It just made me giddy as a schoolboy. So, and yes, but all the other cast members. My wife and I are currently watching Enterprise.
Oh yeah,
because it's one of the few series I barely remember. And although I did watch every episode, I barely remember it. And my wife has never watched it, so I think we're gonna watch Enterprise, and then we're gonna go back to TOS.
Oh
yeah, watching Strange New Worlds makes me want to watch that.
My opinion on Enterprise is when we had no Trek and it was just Enterprise, it made me angry. Going back and doing a rewatch of it about 5 years ago, I was like, "Hey, this is pretty good."
Yeah.
The ending was awful. That final episode.
The worst thing was when they finally hit their stride around season 4 was when they canceled it. And it's like, and season 4 you could really see where they were getting close to where they needed to be, and then Paramount cut the
oh yeah, no, they were going the right way for sure. And RoboCop played a great character, Peter Weller, and it was good stuff. Yeah. And then all I'm going to say is this, Michael Cross, my favorite character on Enterprise, Trip.
Really?
That's all I'm going to say. Yeah.
That's an interesting take. That's not what I thought it would be.
Yeah.
For you. You think it'd be T'Pol? I'm not a pervert.
There's a given, right? It's kind of like tonight we're going to talk about TV shows, and there's a given that we kind of parameter for ourselves. T'Pol is everyone's favorite. That's a given because she's Vulcan.
Right.
Oh, is that why? Yeah.
Brook is because she's Vulcan.
Yeah, well, 7 of 9 was my favorite because she was Borg. I don't know.
Right, because she was Borg.
Yeah, resistance is futile, baby.
Borgs. Okay.
Yeah.
Was number 7 alive though? Johnnie 5 is alive. Was number alive?
Why was it a shock that it was Trip? Who'd you think my favorite Enterprise character would be?
Cap.
I thought
Archer.
I liked Archer a lot. I liked Malcolm a lot.
I could even see Malcolm. Like Malcolm was who I kind of thought. So
I think because of Trip and T'Pol's relationship, we got to see Trip as more than just Starfleet, if that makes sense. Yeah. Especially when Earth was attacked and that big swath of land was cut out across the United States, and
that still horrifies me. The idea of Xindi coming in and just
Trip was an interesting thing. I still want to know who the time guy is, the guy from the future. There's still a theory that it's Archer.
Oh,
yeah,
that's interesting.
It's Archer himself.
It's Archer himself trying to warn the past without disrupting the temporal prime directive.
Yeah, it was. But and then of course that's why I was all excited about the movies coming out, because there was no Trek by that time.
Yeah,
it's kind of how I felt about the Star Wars the 3 movies.
Prequels?
No, not the prequels.
There you go.
The Disney
Kelvins.
ones. No, the Disney Star Wars.
Like Rogue One and Solo.
I was all excited about them because there was no other Star Wars. But now we've got so much Star Trek, we've got so much Star Wars that it's just, and it's all good. especially Star Trek. Oh my gosh, Picard.
Yeah.
Discovery, I guess, is going to have its final season next summer.
Yeah.
Strange New Worlds is really doing great.
Oh man, if they take off with that crew that was left over from Picard,
yeah,
I don't want to spoil it for anybody who hasn't watched Picard yet. But yeah, if they do that, that's gonna, especially with that post-credit scene,
yes,
from season 3 Picard finale. Yeah, that would be great. Have either of you got to watch season 2 of Star Wars Visions?
Sure did.
It is.
I was a little disappointed because I thought they were going to return to some of the season 1.
Like Ronan, that would have been great.
Yeah, and they didn't return to
Samurai
any of them. Although they were good, I would have liked to have seen. There were some like they left hanging so much that I'm like, I want to see part 2 of this. But
Ronan, they put Ronan into a graphic novel.
Yeah,
and you can continue that story a little bit. So the first season, I think, had some real bangers, some great episodes, and then some that were kind of meh.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like there was only one good episode of the second season.
Which one?
The one with the statues, the gigantic monolithic statues.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
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 I think
that was the only good episode of the season.
This one, I thought they were all good. Because I loved some of the animation was fun. They seem to go more.
They were pretty.
They seem to go more goofy though than more humor. In season 2 than they did in season 1.
That first episode with the artist, it was visually appealing. It was terrible.
Oh yes, that's what I mean. And the other ones there was more art. Going more of the I Am Your Mother and some of the other ones. It didn't hit as good. I still thought it was amazing. I loved the animation. I loved the stories. Yeah, you're right. It was not as good as the season 1 though. You're right.
Yeah.
So very quickly, how many people we got here? We got enough people here to do a.
The chat is pretty quiet. June has been pretty quiet.
Only got 6 people watching right now, but we'll go ahead and. Yeah, we're going to stop on Shenanigans Unplugged is here. Hal's here.
Hi, Hal.
Hey there, guys. Let's go ahead and start some trivia. We'll see what happens.
I like it.
All right. Because we got a lot to talk about tonight. We're going to get to a lot of stuff. So we are going to start out, of course, with Magic and Miscellany. Magic and Miscellany. Here we go. Not many people in the chat, so should be pretty easy. All right. If you attack with an ego whip and defend with a Tower of Iron Will, what rare mental ability are you using? If you attack
marriage
with an ego whip and defend with a Tower of Iron Will, what rare mental ability are you using? Marriage is what brings us together today.
An ego whip. An ego whip. I would say the mental ability would be narcissism.
This is true.
Andrew,
is there a skill check involved? Can you whip it good?
Andrew, right off the bat. Look at that.
Yeah.
Way to go, Andrew. All right. Oh, and Hal was right up behind him. Yep. Oh, and well spelled too, guys. Very good. I don't know if I could have spelled that.
Psionics.
It is. Psionics is correct. Psionics. All right. Here we go. With history. History. What female artist illustrated the somewhat risque cover of the 1976 Eldritch Wizardry?
Oh, that's the one.
Yeah.
Isn't that the one where they're on like the altar?
Oh, it might be. You should look that one up.
No, because I think I know who did the altar one. And I know that person has daughters, but I don't think they were that age in the 70s.
Here again, the question
is,
what female artist illustrated the somewhat risque cover of the 1976 Eldritch Wizardry?
When we were at TokenCon, there was a gentleman there, Mr. White, I believe, who had those original white box books, and he brought them by the table.
Yes, it is the image of the woman laying on the altar.
It is.
Yeah. And it's $100 on eBay.
Oh, Michael Cross, I have something to tell you.
Oh, I think Hal's right.
Oh, what we got? Oh, wow. Way to go, Hal. Yes, indeed. Deborah
He
Larson.
probably went over to his PDF file and pulled that down.
It's very, very possible.
Woo!
Yeah, that is kind of risque.
It is. It is.
Especially for 1976. All right.
Michael,
especially for 1976.
I have a piece of D&D news for you that you're going to love.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we'll do that. Hold on to it, and we'll do that in just a moment. Monsters
and miscellany.
What?
No, that's Magic and Miscellany.
Magic and Miscellany. This is just monsters. What monster's hideous visage appears on the Uriel card in the deck of many things? Uriel. I'm not sure.
There you go.
See, it makes me think of Eurydice. Euryale. So Uriel, is Uriale, something like that. I'm not sure which one.
Something like that.
So what monster hideous visage appears on the Uriel card in the deck of many things?
And maybe it's just because I have low ethics, but I'm just going to say no shame if you're Googling right now, because I have no clue.
No. And I also, I mean, Hal, that's a good guess, but no, not a beholder. Not a good beholder.
Oh. Man.
And if anyone could
I want to know
how
what
to pronounce that, that's.
I want to know what the word is. Like, throw the word in the chat, because Eurydice, of course. If Ginger Halfling was here, she could give us a story about the Greek myth that applies to.
So the erudites were learned men from
Well, Eurydice.
Listen,
Eurydice.
Eurydice comes up from.
Well, Eurydice was killed and went into the underworld, and her lover Orpheus went down to save her and almost got her out, but then he looked behind him and she disappeared. So that's a classic story. In fact, actually retold for Sandman in the Sandman novels, because Morpheus was Orpheus's dad. The Sandman. And so they retold it in a wonderful special annual issue that was, I believe, what was the name of that? I'm trying to remember the name of that comic, the annual. I want to say What Dreams May Come, but that's not right. It was Dream a Little, Dream of Me.
Huh.
Dream a Little, Dream of Me. Anyway, Andrew got it right.
Medusa.
Which, of course, again, if you think Eurydice, Greek mythology, that might have given it away too. But
how erudite of you.
Erudite? Yes.
That too. Have either of you seen Hadestown, just while we're talking about Orpheus and Eurydice, the musical?
No.
So it was here in Oklahoma City, and she didn't drag me, but I was kind of like, well, okay. I had the wife said, let's go see it. And so I did. It's fantastic. It's really, really great. It's kind of a jazz inspired musical. And man, if you get a chance to listen to the soundtrack or to see the show Hadestown, it's totally worth it. I was impressed.
I'll have to look that one up. I do like a good musical.
Yeah.
All right. So in adventures, here's something current, which is really rare for these questions. But in The Wild Beyond the Witchlight, characters seek to rescue the arch-fae Zybilna from what inert condition? In The Wild Beyond the Witchlight, characters seek to rescue the arch-fae Zybilna from what inert condition?
Congratulations,
Argonon. It's one of the inert gases, right?
Is the carbonite.
Frozen in carbonite.
Frozen in carbonite.
Well, Andrew's just throwing them all out there.
Yes, he is. He's not getting any of it. Good try, Andrew. Where is everyone tonight? My goodness.
I know it's really quiet. So,
really quiet.
Right now.
but this is a fantastic chance. I posted it inside the Discord, and I'll throw it on Facebook too. But our leaderboard going into tonight is Ruffles with 4, Kinder and Hal both had 2 coming into tonight. S. Jones and Andrew both had 1. So right now, Hal and Andrew are both tied with 3. So they could take the leaderboard from Andrew if they get either, or at least tie it if they get either one of the next 2 correct. So,
yeah. And Andrew's right. There is weather going on in Oklahoma right now. So,
well, that's true.
We
I
are under
ran down earlier and passed storm tracker parked on the side of the road, setting up all the stuff on top of his truck.
Yeah, we're under a tornado watch. So, but it looked like for us, I live northwest Oklahoma City, so it looked like for us it was all going to pass mostly to the south until later this evening. So, probably right as I'm going to work at 2:00 in the morning, that's when it'll hit. That'll be fun. I don't mind driving in the rain. It's in the snowstorms that really bother me. But I don't think anyone's gonna get this. I'm gonna go ahead and give it. It's temporal stasis. She's in temporal stasis. So. Here we go with a blue, which I believe is characters. One of my favorites. Pickle Boulder Shoulder, brother of the dwarf Ivan Boulder Shoulder, and a former cook in the Edificant Library, wears what object as a helmet? Pickle Boulder Shoulder. Pickle is at. Do you guys know any of these stories? They're early Drizzt novels, and actually it was the cleric, the Catasil Chronicles. I think that's right, something like that. Anyway, it was, and then Pickle and Ivan show up later. Pickle was a druid, and at this time, in the early '90s, when R.A. Salvatore's writing these books, for a dwarf to be a druid was unheard of. Mm-hmm. And so Pickle was a very, very special druid, and we absolutely and he's still around to books to this day. So, so what does he wear as a helmet?
I know what my middle school boy thinks it has to be, but
Hal, boom, right off the bat,
sweet, the cookie pot.
He wears a cookie pot, and he actually lost his arms. It was really horrifying as I was reading the book, and he reaches his arms up and it just chops his arms off.
Ah!
Yeah. But yes, Pickle's one of my favorite. So, my brother. So, okay, how are we doing here? Hal's gotten, 2 of them now?
Yes.
And Andrew's gotten 1?
Andrew has also gotten 2, so now it's 4-3 with Hal and Andrew tonight in their total points. Hal is now tied for the leaderboard's top spot with Ruffles from the previous 2 weeks. So
wow, there we go. Okay, because here's the final one. Here's cosmology. Cosmology coming up right now. The powerful lich Zastam served as the Zulkir of necromancy among the Red Wizards of which country in Faerun? Oh,
woo!
Yeah.
You can even have watched recent media.
Who gets it first? That's the question. Anybody should be able to get this. Because I'll repeat it again so you guys can put it in there. The powerful lich Zastam served as the Zulkir of necromancy among the Red Wizards of which country in Faerun? Okay.
Right, Andrew. Gotcha.
You spelled it right the second time. So, yes, we'll give it to Andrew.
Yeah. Hey.
Yes, Red Wizards of Faerun. In fact, it's one of the things because you can't actually even think of Red Wizards without
yeah,
saying the Red Wizards of Thay. That's just kind of part of their
Thay.
name.
And for what it's worth, I don't know if you guys heard, but from my spot, I mentally, kind of like an Obi Kobe crying out in anguish, I mentally heard Andrew going, spell check!
Yes. Autocorrect. Damn you. All right. That's it for trivia. Again, everyone, make sure you like and subscribe this. If you're just now tuning in, do like and subscribe. I know we don't have many people coming in. People are watching the weather, so everyone be safe out there. We will continue with this conversation. Beauty of YouTube. You can watch it later. So,
exactly right.
Johnnie.
And now we have a 3-way tie for first place with Ruffles, Hal, and Andrew all having 4 points. Nice. Going into, I think it's June 29th. I think it'll be our next time, and it'll be who's the winner of this session of 4. So, woohoo.
So Ruffles wasn't even here, and he's tied for the top spot.
You had something.
I know.
Talk about D&D.
Yeah, so this should be much more of a drive to get you to Gen Con, sir.
Oh.
There's a Facebook group that I've been part of for probably a decade called Friends of Gen Con. And they do really neat stuff. Like recently, the beginning of summer, the Indianapolis Convention Center pulled up all their carpet.
Oh.
And replaced it. It is a very, very unique pattern. People were like, oh my God, I want to buy some. All the Gen Con fans. And they're like, weird. We were just going to throw it away, but how about we give it to Christie's and they auction it off?
Yeah.
So people bought like boxes, and I'm talking like a box that a refrigerator would fit in because they come in squares, tiles, and they're selling them online for like $30 and they'll ship them to you, no big deal. So much neat stuff at Gen Con that happens and the lore and everything. Well, like every other convention in the world, Gen Con has a silent auction. SoonerCon has it, TokenCon had it. Any convention
great way to win money,
And anybody can bring something to the auction that they think is worthy and will make money, and it goes to the charity and et cetera. For the third time in just over a decade, someone is selling. So thinking about putting something in the auction, complete Dragon magazine collection.
Oh my God.
Like all 250, 300, 320 issues? Yeah. Holy smoke.
You said a lot of the older ones are in plastic.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Like collector's bags and stuff. But yeah.
I'd love to see what that is.
People are commenting saying this is like the third time this has happened in like just over 10 years that someone has sold a complete set of Dragon magazine.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, Microcross, just the other day, you were at a really random place and this thing happened. What was that? Because you shared a picture of it.
Yeah. So my wife and I went to Nebraska. And we were going for okay, this is a little hard. One of her first graders back when she first started teaching now has a daughter who is just turned 13, and they had her bat mitzvah. And so we went to Lincoln, Nebraska for her bat mitzvah. While we're up there, of course, I'm looking up gaming stuff. So I found this place called Gaming Gauntlet, the Gauntlet game. Anyway, Gaming Gauntlet, which was just your typical gaming store. Gave them some cards for Red Dirt D&D, by the way. And then, then found like a gaming cafe, kind of like Edmund Unplugged, but oh my gosh, it's just huge, just massive. So many games to play. They have D&D on Friday nights, and it was just a blast. But they also have a little seating area for just drink coffee. And in that seating area, they have all these different magazines. And one of the magazines was a Dragon magazine from 1984. And I'm reading through it, and it talks about Gen Con 17 in Waukesha, in Keosha, Wisconsin. I mean, it was before Gen Con made its big move. It was and it had all it just in case you want to know more about dryads. But the whole thing on Gen Con, The only thing on Gen Con, it broke down all the panels, all the games. It had a breakdown of all that because of course back then that was the only way you would get that information. This is pre-internet. You couldn't just look up the website and figure out, So to get it beforehand, you had to read the Dragon magazine to get all the information on Gen Con. So yeah, it was just amazing just picking that up and reading that and flashing back and had also the gods of Greyhawk, and it was the stats for the gods of Greyhawk.
Yeah. What amazed me was it was in that reading area, and at least in your picture, that, issue 87 or whatever it was, looked like it was in really great shape.
It was in a really, really good shape. It was amazingly good shape. So, just a couple of gaming places up in Lincoln, Nebraska. And had a really great trip going up there and just some fun time, and then going to my first bat mitzvah. That was fun.
Awesome.
There you go.
Yeah. So anyway, yes, and also there's been some new news about the new Player's Handbook, DM's Guide, Monsters Manual that are going to be coming out next year. As they're really trying to push right now. This is not a new edition. This is just
right.
It isn't. It's the same stuff we've always been playing. It's just updated to what they have like with Tasha's. Because you look at Tasha's stuff and it's like you look at the Tasha subclasses and they blow everything out of the way from the original Player's Handbook in 2014. So
they really do.
They've got to bring those up to date, and they've got to bring, and for monsters they got to do the same thing, and a new DM's guide that actually is easy to read. So very excited about this, and very excited that they decided to scrap 6E. There was just no reason for it. I think that was the biggest criticism they were getting was, if it's not broke, don't fix it. You're trying to you're trying to fix something that isn't broken, and that's exactly what happened to 4th edition. And that's why Paizo has Pathfinder.
You're not wrong.
Really?
Exactly right.
If they hadn't gone to 4E, if they just continued on that third edition, it'd still be playing, and Pathfinder would not exist.
Yeah,
you're almost certainly correct.
So,
yeah, I mean, here's the proof of it. Pathfinder is 3.5 D&D.
Yes, it is. Yeah,
it lasted.
Yeah,
they could have carried that 10 more years, and
yeah.
By
the way,
that's very true.
There's a 5th edition of something coming out next year. The from Pathfinder is putting out. It's one of their more famous adventure paths.
Oh, the Kingmaker.
No. And I can't. It's got the Screaming Woman on it, like a ghost type.
Abomination Vaults.
Yeah, they are putting out a 5th edition version of that, and I'm looking forward to getting that. I think I'm going to run our Saturday night group through that as soon as whenever he comes out. So, because apparently it's supposed to be like one of the best. Everyone who's talking about it's like one of the best dungeon crawls anybody's ever gone through.
Yeah,
and so I'm like, you make that for 5th edition, that'll be fabulous.
I'm always interested when a game company that has a different system than 5e has a hit story and then they make a 5e version of it. I've yet to actually play in one of these crossover type things, but like we got the Lord of the One Ring box set.
Yes,
it's an amazing system. Free League Press has basically one core system they use for all their games, and they do minor changes here and there to kind of make it thematic. And then like, hey, we're coming out with a 5e edition, and I'm just trying to wrap my head around, because I'm very familiar with the one for the One Ring, and I'm like, I really want. I need to do that sometime. I need to hear that someone's running a 5e version of a game that was born on a different system, and learn both games and play them both and see. Have you guys ever done that?
That's the first edition, the original adventures reincarnated of Barrier Peaks, and so I mean these are games that I ran back 40 years ago, and to be able to run my son and our Saturday night group through it in a 5th edition format was fantastic. Of course they add Goodman Games added a lot more stuff to it, but it was great running through the Tales from the Unknown, Barrier Peaks, Isle of Dread and the caves of
TSJOLT.
yeah, all those.
So that's basically taking first and second edition D&D and putting it into fifth edition D&D.
Right.
Have you ever played anything that was a complete different system by a different game company?
No, but that's because I
had a 5e version. That's what I want to do. I want to check that out.
I've never played any other system outside of Pathfinder, really. So
okay,
we need
to change that, Michael.
I would love to play the Lord of the Rings 5e, and a Doctor Who 5e is supposed to be coming out sometime. Cubicle 7 was working on that. So
there's a Doctor Who system they have. I haven't touched it. Or
Cubicle
played
7 has a Doctor Who game, but they're adapting their Doctor Who game for 5th edition. Mm-hmm. So it'd be really cool to play that. So all right, it is 7:30.
Let's do it.
I think we need to talk about our Okay, so before we get this started, we already promised that we would not talk about Star Trek, Star Wars. Okay, so no talking Ewoks in the 80s. I know that was one of our favorite shows. Or any other Star Wars show. But one we cannot fail to mention is Star Trek The Next Generation from TV. Yeah. So our top three of TV would not include Star Trek The Next Generation, because let's face it, that was probably the best thing that came out of the 80s. Wouldn't you agree on television?
Yeah.
It went so. As far as length and breadth. Now, the first 2 seasons, it's kind of like when we were talking about Enterprise and other things earlier. We hadn't had any Star Trek for so long. We were hungry for anything.
Right.
You know, if you go back to rewatch them, those first 2 seasons are, they're still learning who the characters are, and it's kind of meh, but man, whoosh, does it take off and become phenomenal.
Yeah. The moment Riker gets that goatee, it's all over. So I was actually there's a great Star Trek YouTube channel out there that was doing some reviews and stuff recently, and they talked about how the first few seasons of Next Gen were kind of lackluster because they were trying to be the original series, and we were ready for something else. And then when they kicked that over, it got better. And then when Deep Space Nine first few seasons were trying to be Star Trek: The Next Generation, and it's like, well, we already have that. It's running simultaneously. And then they took off with the Dominion War story arc, and they stopped doing episodic and started these 3 and 4 episode arcs, and depth of character and everything, and was like, okay, now the show is really taking off. Also, Sisko grew a goatee, so it's all about the hair.
When
Voyager got better.
I'm just saying.
When Star Trek: The Next Generation came out, I was sitting in front of the television. I had just gotten an apartment. I'd already graduated high school, and I was just gotten my first apartment, and we were sitting around on Sunday night on Channel 4 here in Oklahoma City. Aired it at 10:30 on a Sunday night, and I sat and watched the very first encounter at Farpoint, and to me, I was blown away because we didn't have anything else.
Oh, yeah.
It's a lot. Whenever I hear a lot of people talk about the first couple of seasons, they're seeing it retrospectively.
Exactly.
Especially for people who are too young to have remembered when it first came out. Maybe they've watched the movies, when I'm talking about movies, I'm talking about the Kelvin timeline movies, or DS9 or Voyager or even Picard and all those, and then going back to watch The Next Generation, because those first 2 seasons are not good in comparison to those. But I was blown away, and I was glued to it because of all because they were great characters. You didn't have just 3 characters, which is basically what the original series had.
Yeah.
Although you had Chekhov and Sulu and Uhura, it was really Spock, McCoy, Kirk. That was it.
Yeah.
Whereas Next Generation had this entire cast that was so good, and so I didn't think about the spandex, and I didn't think about the horrible uniforms, because I had nothing else to go off of.
Thing and
the Picard maneuver,
Fine, but it was, yeah. It was weird in the 90s.
But yeah, granted, in third season they add the collars. It looks so much better.
Yeah.
Riker grows a beard in the second season, and nobody liked Pulaski, but Pulaski was mostly. Do you guys know why they had Pulaski? Do you know why?
Go on. No idea.
Okay, in the 70s, Gene Roddenberry was going to bring back the original cast for television shows.
Yeah.
And so he wrote a whole bunch of scripts with Kirk, McCoy, and Spock. And so he had a whole bunch of scripts. And so for the second season, they decided, hey, you know, Pulaski was a lot more like Bones.
Yeah.
Also, the motion picture was just was just one of the television scripts that they extended 100%. Out.
They just took two and put it together. Yeah.
Well, no, they just extended out with a lot of like traveling through V'ger and traveling around the Enterprise. They just padded it.
Yeah.
It
was the probe that they found that floats around, you know, and then, you know, ends up killing McCoy, I think it is, right?
So basically they second season was basically Gene Roddenberry taking a lot of those scripts and rewriting them for the Next Generation. But
they did try to do the Pulaski was to Data what Bones was to Spock.
Exactly.
And,
yeah. But and so granted, season 3 comes in, and season 3 was again, they've added the collars. It's not quite the spandex type of uniforms. We brought back Crusher, which was fantastic, and then that season 3 ender of Best of Both Worlds. When Riker when the camera pulls around to him and Riker just goes, fire. And they cut to black. And it was like, I think that was the first to be continued that I can remember. Now, of course, they go back all the way back to like Who Shot JR and stuff. But for me, that was the first time that I went, I have to wait 3 months. Nowadays, it's typical. Now, of course, you don't wait 3 months. Now we wait a full year before we have the streaming series puts out 12 more episodes.
Yeah. And they did that once they got in they did that so well, so great. You have the unification 2-parter where Spock steps out of the shadows and says, if you're looking for him, you have found him when they're on Romulus, you know, and the Data and Lore to, you know, cliffhanger that happens in that season. I mean, they just great stuff. Johnny, you were going to say.
The SoonerCon before COVID, I had met Larry Nemechek. I don't know if anyone knows.
Oh yeah,
if you guys, So
really,
and he and I. He's always at SoonerCon. Yeah, he back in the day in the '90s, he would be at SoonerCon and DarkCon, and he ran a room.
Yeah, and he'll be back this year too.
People, he's very approachable. He actually invited me to be on a panel that he was on that year, and I had a schedule conflict and imposter syndrome because he's like, you're the person that's talked the most Trek to me and has been more. This isn't a boost or brag because you've been accurate and really passionate about it. But we were talking about how that season, he said that if you did the math, everyone's like, oh, it was 3 months. He goes, actually, no, it was like close to 7 months before we got that, because it was in syndication. And that year, something wonky happened, and it was almost a year before we got to see here in Oklahoma what happened.
Well, you know that Picard
was it another writer's strike?
No, they weren't.
No, it was syndication. It's just all contracts.
But it was Picard.
Oh, okay.
They weren't certain if they were getting Patrick Stewart was coming back for a 4th season.
Oh,
that's why they ended it that way.
Big delay.
Because they could have easily said, okay, you fire and Picard never shows back up again. You know, no problem. But there was a whole bunch of contract stuff, and I think there might have been a writer's strike that year. By the way, we totally support the WGA. Go guys! We're very, very, very proud of you and support your ability.
It becomes so evident when when the writers know where a story is going, right? When they can build on it from week to week. And even if they know, okay, here's our end game, it just becomes so much stronger, so much better. It's awesome.
Yeah. So
that's a cool story, Johnny.
let's move on because we could have it.
Yeah.
Sometimes let's have
We
an
did have
entire
a Trek
episode.
I'm glad that we could have an entire Trek episode.
Let me watch a little bit more because I have to go back and watch TOS. I realized as I was talking to Kimberly about us doing that, like I know them, but it's probably been 30 to 40 years since I've actually watched the original series.
Oh wow, yeah.
So
you need to watch them again.
We've been watching Next Generation. We were watching Voyager for a while there. We were watching Enterprise. There's just such a glut now of, we were watching the movies a little while ago. So it's been a long time since we've sat down and watched all of them. So
it's been a long road.
Getting from there to here. It's been a long time. Oh gosh, I can't get that song out of my head now because we've been watching it so much. Anyway, roll a die. See who's gonna go first.
Woo!
I got a 9.
5.
Oh my god.
3. Oh my gosh. You want to go in first? I'm going first with a 9. All right. Okay. First off, okay. So number 3, right? Number 3.
Sure. Yeah. Number 3.
The Young Ones.
Oh.
Does anyone remember this show on MTV? It came on Saturday nights at 10 o'clock, and it was British sitcom, and it was absolutely hilarious. I think it only lasted for like 2 years in the early 80s on BBC, and then MTV basically just kept running it on Saturdays before 120 minutes. We would sit down and we would watch.
Man, wow, I remember that. Yeah,
we would watch The Young Ones, and then and I absolutely loved it. So that's my number 3, The Young Ones. Fantastic.
Shout out to 120 minutes on MTV. Man,
that was our Saturday night thing. Was it?
That was a musical awakening.
Yeah, that was our Saturday night thing. We just such good music. I mean, yeah, incredible musicals, music and videos. Yeah. Okay, who got next? Brook.
It was me. So, my top 3 is actually a tie, and I wanted to take one of these out, but I left it in just for the nostalgia of it. It's a tie. I just couldn't decide between the Super Friends Saturday morning cartoon, or Dukes of Hazzard.
Oh, really?
Nice.
and you can guess which one I kind of wanted to take out, but I kept
Although I think Super Friends was technically 70s.
I double checked because I felt, but it rolled into the 80s.
Yes,
and
it did.
So
yeah,
it rolled into the 80s. So at 82, when I'm 12, I could still watch it. It was great. So
I'm sorry, Johnny, what were you saying?
Oh, I was gonna say, yeah. The Dukes of Hazzard are cringe now, but in the moment, in the 80s,
no, I hated it then.
It was a happy, good time family show.
It's a happy, good time thing. Slide across the car. I remember having the moment at whenever I realized that every week they probably thrash that car. I mean, like, because of the jumps and then and so in real life, you're back at the repair shop. That's why they're such good friends with Cooter, is because they had to get it repaired.
Right. And I gotta stop talking.
I know.
But
what about your number 3?
Waylon Jennings narration, everything was great. Yeah, good stuff. So I have to ask permission for my number 3 first by the 2 judges in the room. The series ran for 14 years and started in 79.
If that means it basically ran through the 80s. So I'd say
yeah. If it's definitely in the 80s, it's in the 80s.
Okay. Remember how my music was all over the place and really not too reflective of me today?
Oh my god!
No, I just said the Super Friends cartoon. Really there is no judgment
here.
He
did Dukes of Hazzard. You can't get
number
worse.
3 on my list. Taught me a lot later in life. Taught me a lot of skills that I could use later in my adult life. From seducing a billionaire, an old man billionaire, to whatever. I don't know.
No way.
Knots Landing.
Oh my
The Dallas spinoff, Knots Landing. J.R. Ewing's brother said, "To hell with this Texas stuff. I'm moving to California." From Knots Landing,
You watched
thanks
Knots
to Aaron
Landing?
Spelling, we got Beverly
Is
Hills
this? I
90210, and then Melrose Place. It's all connected, man. It's all connected.
Is
Yeah.
this because your mom wouldn't share the remote? Is that why you're watching Knots Landing?
My grandmother would, my grandpa would go to sleep super early, and my grandmother would just like go into my room and sit down on the bed with me and hang out and talk, and we watched Knots Landing together. We watched Dallas, but usually I would read when Dallas was on because I didn't really care about it. But it was something about Knots Landing that just hooked me, and I couldn't look away from it. I think it's because in Dallas, they were also like everything was glamorous and everybody lived in like gigantic house. In Knots Landing, it was just common people. It was just it could have been your next door neighbor or what have you.
And my mom used to videotape all my children, so we would watch that in the evenings too. So I kind of dig that. I kind of understand. I could tell you a lot about the All My Children cast with Eric.
I could tell you way too much about Days of Our Lives. Yeah. That was my number 3.
Excellent. Okay, so my number 2, very quickly, the show called Robin of Sherwood. It was another British show. It aired on Showtime. The theme music was from Clannad, a group that Enya used to be a part of, and so it's called Robin of Sherwood. And it was a Robin Hood storyline that was just amazing. More of a pagan-esque look at Robin Hood rather than and his following of like a green man rather than a more Christian version of it. And at about halfway through, the main character Robin died, and so they brought in a new Robin Hood. Because there's basically 2 Robin Hoods. One of them supposed to be he's like the peasant that learned how to shoot really well, and the other one that he's noble born. And so they had a noble born version of Robin, and it was Sean Connery's son, Jason Connery, who came in and played that for like the last 2 or 3 seasons. But anyway, Robin of Sherwood. If you guys get a chance to check it out, it's really actually very, very good. Of course, it was good for the 80s. I don't know if it's still good or not, but that's my number 2.
That's awesome. With my number 2, if you come and knock on my door, I'll be waiting for Three's Company.
Nice.
Yeah.
You know, that is classic Shakespeare.
It's true.
Think about it. It's every episode was a misunderstanding.
Exactly.
It was all farce. It was typical farce.
Yep. Yes. They had enough doors to be a farce. Yep. Yeah, it was all
actually,
get it out. Much to do about
except for it doesn't really. Some of the jokes and stuff don't really last into the
again, Dukes of Hazzard and Three's Company, I have not rewatched with any significance at all because I know there are probably some things that are like
they don't age well. I tried to watch some Three's Company. It's like but the humor in it, and of course. Ritter.
John Ritter.
I want to say Jason Ritter, but that's his son. John Ritter is just so funny to this day. I mean, obviously we lost him way too early, but
he was fantastic in the 7 Things for Dating My Teenage Daughter show.
Or something like that.
Or 8 Things. He was fantastic.
8 Rules for Dating My Daughter.
8 Rules.
With Katie Cuoco?
Yes, Kaylee Cuoco or whomever.
You're killing me.
Anyway, number 2, Johnny.
My number 2 is I'm shocked I haven't heard it yet. I figured there'd be some crossover here. My number 2 is, just put it out there, MacGyver.
There you go. Yeah.
Nice.
That guy was
Richard Dean Anderson.
He was just always thinking. There was always, it's like in any crisis, I know the big joke is, if I had an ink pen and some bubble gum, I could get us out of this. But no, always, aware of what was going on, the tools at his disposal, etc. And then I really liked it. And they got in the later seasons, and they started having all the reoccurring characters and such, like his his point of contact boss guy. Interesting story about him. I can't remember the guy's name for the life of me. I have to look it up on IMDb. But it was the large bald headed man that he would talk to all the time. What was his name?
Yeah, I can see it.
But see, that's the problem, is that I didn't watch much television in the 80s. So the little I did, I was,
Yeah.
Johnny, while you're looking that up,
across the new MacGyver stuff. Terrible. There
you go. Johnny, while you're looking that up, Hal, you're sending Hal on a teeter-totter. Earlier, he gives you allowance to talk about your choice. He heard what it was and rescinds it, but now you're redeemed with MacGyver. So you're good.
Okay. Along with the A-Team, they could solve anything.
Here's what it was. It was Dana Elcar. He played Pete Thornton. The character started to go blind in the show because the character was going blind in real life.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
We also had Bruce McGill, who played Jack Dalton. Terry Hatcher was in it for a handful of episodes. Yeah, Cuba Gooding Jr. was in it for a handful of episodes. It was really good stuff. It was really good stuff.
Yeah. So very quickly, I do want to mention just some notable mentions before we get to my number one.
Yes.
The miniseries.
Yeah.
I didn't think about doing miniseries.
I know. Normally I wouldn't, but that thing was mind blowing. It was my favorite. And here's the thing: to me, the best television shows. I know I might get some flack on this, but the best television shows to me came out actually in the 70s. I got a list here: The $6 Million Man, Bionic Woman, Battlestar Galactica, Wonder Woman, The Incredible Hulk. And, of course, Saturday morning cartoons, which you just mentioned. But to me, those are 70s. I mean, if you want to do a cartoon from the 80s, Dungeons and Dragons, there was the Transformers, G.I. Joe, those were really 80s. But I thought television was better in the 70s than in the 80s, to tell you the truth. But that's also because I stopped watching. Around 85, I got out of the house and did things, and I was,
you rebel.
Yeah,
look at you.
I was not doing anything. So my number one goes back to and I've told this story before, and I think I've told it right here, is in 1980 when my father sat me down on a Saturday night and said, there's a new science fiction show from Britain that's on PBS right now, and we want to watch it. And I remember in 1980 sitting and watching The Robot, Tom Baker, Doctor Who, and never for the 80s did I stop watching Doctor Who.
Never looked back.
Yeah, and even got my sister and my mother watching it, and we all, and to this day, I love Doctor Who, and I always will. But it's from that moment of just sitting down for the first time watching. Now, Doctor Who, that's an awkward one because that started in '63 until 89. So, but for me, it was the 80s. It was all about Tom Baker and watching him in the 80s, and Peter Davison and a little bit of Colin Baker.
That's awesome.
Doctor Who, definitely number one. Brooke.
Awesome. Some of those 70 shows you mentioned, I'd written down and then done some fact checking and had to cross them out because I was like, oh, the 70s. But
Mork and Mindy. Another 70s.
Yep.
Go ahead.
Yeah. No. So honorable mentions, A-Team, Charlie's Angels, Family Ties, The Muppet Show. All of those are honorable mentions for me. My number one is a different kind of nostalgia and completely different from the other things on my list. Got to watch this all the time with my dad. Got to stay up late to watch it. And it was The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson. He would let me stay up and watch through the monologue. And then I would have to go to bed and love, that late night TV show monologue is one of my favorite things to still watch.
Yeah.
So
that is awesome. That is awesome.
Johnny, how about you?
My honorable mentions, you mentioned V. I really got a kick out of the Fall Guy.
Yeah.
It was on my list.
And then this one actually, it was on the list, and I removed it when my brain said, "What are you thinking about? What about this show?" And it was Family Ties. I really, of all the sitcoms, I could not miss an episode of Family Ties.
Yeah.
I would I'd lose it.
It was an awesome show. I really enjoyed it a
Yeah,
lot.
Michael P. Keaton. I just got hooked on Michael J. Fox, and just went from there with it. My number one, 1989. It goes back to my escapism. It goes back to, I don't know, maybe I have a heart of gold. Who knows? But it is about government experiment of time travel and Dr. Sam Beckett stepping into a quantum accelerator.
Yes.
Quantum leap. Yes. It was.
Oh,
I mean, every episode. Again, I love the episodic story, but there was also the overarching story. I like when there's the mix of the two.
yeah.
God, the episodes with the evil leapers, when there was,
Yes.
evil leaper
Yes.
coming to get them and stuff.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
when you
And
found
then
out
you
there was
realize,
there was other
wait.
people jumping as well, and he was having to
Yeah.
stop things that they had done already. Yeah.
The whole thing with Al, and especially when his Swiss cheese brain, and Al always had to remind him of who he was and what was happening, but couldn't let him know too much.
And
had
then
to
when he
keep him.
found out he was married.
He was his handler, and then when he and Al traded places.
Yes, and he got to go
Yes.
back.
Oh my
I
god!
remember that episode.
Wow. Yes.
The episode where he leapt into himself.
Mm-hmm.
And then he kept leaping. He leapt into himself and tried to get his dad to stop smoking cigarettes, and tried to get his brother to not go to Vietnam. In the very next episode, he leapt into his brother in Vietnam.
In Vietnam, yeah.
It was just and then
I don't remember those being back to back. But
spoilers,
awesome.
you've had time. But the final episode where he did a thing and unlinked himself from Gucci and Ziggy and let Al go live his life, and he controlled his leap one time and went and set things right with Al and his past and his wife, and then they lost him. And apparently, I haven't watched it, but that's what the new show is about. Is they're looking for Sam?
Yeah, and I haven't been able to watch it either because it's
I didn't know
Peacock,
that when the
Peacock
show first
Plus.
came out. I was like, oh, this is just a reboot and it's going to be a disaster.
No,
That's what I thought.
And no, apparently but from what I understand, they don't reveal that until later on.
No, they revealed in the very first episode.
Oh, is it?
Yeah,
Is it revealed in the first episode?
The problem was it was Peacock Plus, and I'm like, I'm not paying Peacock to watch this, but it was a great. I saw the first episode, and it's great. It was a great first episode, and loved it. But but the original, and also the one with John F. where he was trying to save John F. Kennedy's life.
Yeah, I love that one.
He was in Lee Harvey Oswald.
He was in Lee Harvey Oswald.
And,
that one, there were episodes where he would leap around a certain situation, and there was one where he kept failing, so he would leap into somebody else related to it, like a few years before or after. Maybe that was the Lee Harvey Oswald one also.
And it was because
he started losing his mind, and Lee Harvey Oswald started taking over.
Yeah, do you remember how that one ended? Because he then leaped because he was about to shoot, and then he leapt the trigger, and he leapt into one of the security guards.
Yeah,
and then he ran, and he ran to save him, and he pulled Jackie Kennedy down into the thing, and Al later on said, "Oh, your Swiss brain doesn't remember. She died. Jack, you saved Jackie Kennedy." Said, "Oh,
and I had forgotten that."
Yeah, Jackie died, and Kennedy
lived. So he had actually saved Jackie Kennedy.
Wow.
And that was how they kind of. How could he fix it without actually saving John Kennedy?
Yeah.
But yeah. Anyway, great stuff. That was great.
I'm really surprised that we, in our honorable mentions and if we do like a top 10 in the Discord or whatever, we'll have some crossover there. But our final threes, we didn't have much crossover. That was really fun.
That was fantastic. I think I think that one worked really well. So the next time we meet will be right before SoonerCon.
Right before SoonerCon.
We are going to be live at SoonerCon. I don't know how we're going to do this yet. Somehow we are going to do this show at SoonerCon. Folks, we're doing this show at SoonerCon. It'll be out till Thursday night. So we're all going to be at the Embassy Suites in Norman on that Thursday night. I don't know. We'll all be gathered around a laptop. I don't know. I don't know how it's going to work. We're going to find out. But we'll be here. That is, what is that? Can someone give me a date?
29th,
27th. The 29th. Thank you. Yes, my math is wrong. The 29th.
Yeah.
We'll go through.
We could talk about movies as our last top 3. Not our last, but in this arc.
Yeah, I've got
movies of the 80s.
Picks. So
you're confusing me, Michael. So we're doing a live show at SoonerCon, but PD is not going to be live.
No, we are going to be. Well, we are going to do it from SoonerCon.
Why are
Does SoonerCon start on Thursdays?
Why would you not be at Thursday night? Because I've got a room there.
Does it start on Thursday?
No, it starts on Friday. But I don't have to worry about coming in there on Friday.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I'm not gonna. God, Michael, you're throwing me off. I'm like, wait, SoonerCon isn't a 4-day event.
No.
So Michael's going to be at the Embassy Suites. Johnny and I will both be on Zoom.
Yeah.
You can take us around on a tour of.
Someone's gonna have to run this on Twitch or on Slobs because I don't.
We'll just skip next one because it's a con. But we do a special episode the following Monday or Tuesday or something.
Or maybe we'll shoot that next Thursday. See, now you're just throwing everything off. Now I've made some promises.
I can't do it. I don't know.
Who knows?
We'll figure it out. Schedule a game session. Jesus Christ.
But SoonerCon, everybody come out and see us at SoonerCon. We do know we're going to have a live actual play on Saturday. We're going to have D&D trivia Friday night. That is definitely going on. So come on out and see us at SoonerCon. It's going to be so much fun. The 30th through the 2nd. Is that right? 30th through the 2nd?
Yes. Right. Yes. Yeah. June 30th through July 2nd.
Come out and see us. We will have a table in the game lounge. So come out and see us, and it's going to be a blast. It's going to be an absolute blast.
Friday trivia night is Friday the 30th, trivia night at 8 o'clock, just like we do here, only it'll probably roll more than one round, and we're going to have prizes for the winners, kind of like we did at TokenCon. We'll have some baskets and first, second, third. It'll be really, really cool. And Saturday at 5 is when we have Red Dirt Live, where we will be running through a little actual play scenario.
Yep.
So
it's going to be fun. So come out and join us. We thank you very much. Make sure you like and subscribe right here. Make sure to maybe become a Patreon member. Also, make sure to watch Mysteries of Beatrix and our Red Dirt Outlaws. And, of course, check out Red Dirt D&D. Make sure to make a mention wherever you get your favorite podcasts. We will see you later. I'm Michael Cross.
I'm Brook Bullock.
Johnny Payne.
Bye-bye, everybody.